Hello, entrepreneurs. My name is Jamel Shuford. I am the Chief Events Officer at Prism Events, and we have gone through a wonderful journey of the event planning process. So, you've developed your vision for your event, you've created your budget, you've sent out RFPs and signed contracts with your vendors, you've started planning your event. Now, wait. If none of this sounds familiar to you, then go back to our earlier videos so that you can follow with us step by step of the event planning process. Today's video is all about execution. So, we've done all the planning and signing all the contracts and gotten our budget together. We are going to talk about what to do in those last 2 weeks before your event and what to do during your event. So let's start with 2 weeks out. 2 weeks before your event, you should be really digging into the details of your event and making sure that you have crossed all your T's, dotted all your I's, and you've begun to really wind down with getting everything done. It's countdown time to your event. So, one of the things that you should make sure you take care of is receiving what we call a banquet event order, or for short, it's a BEO. If you are doing an event, especially at a conference center or a hotel, you want to make sure that you get this BEO from them no later than 2 weeks before your event. Your banquet event order is the hotel's way of communicating with you every single detail of your event. So, for instance, if you are doing a conference that will have a general session, it will have individual breakout sessions, it will have food and beverage setups, it will have AV. Like, you're gonna have the works with this event, okay? The banquet event order will tell you almost minute to minute exactly what's going to happen. So at such and such a time, they're going to set up your AV. They're going to start setting up your room for your general session or set up your rooms for your breakout sessions. They will start at this point, they will end at this point. Then it will tell you exactly what menu items you've chosen for your food and beverage, exactly what items you will have in your room for AV, or exactly, down to how many chairs you're going to have on stage. And that way you can really go through your event and make sure that with each session, everything is how you want it to be. And this is also a way for you to make sure that the hotel knows exactly what you want and how you want it set up, how you want your registration table to be set up. You want how many 6-foot tables and how many chairs behind those 6-foot tables? Okay, and you also want a tablecloth? Okay, like down to the very last, almost pen and pencil on the paper. It's very, very detailed. So make sure you get that no later than 2 weeks before your event. If you're not doing your event at a hotel or conference center, then talk to your venue and see if they have anything like that they could send to you to make sure that they know what they need to do for your event. The next thing that you need to do at least 2 weeks out from your event is send an email to each individual vendor outlining your event and tell them when you want them to arrive, what you want them to do specifically when they get there, in any other details that you really need them to know, so that there will be no reason for them to forget, oh yeah, I'm supposed to be at such and such's event next week and it wasn't on my calendar. Like there are several ways that a vendor could forget. I don't know how they do that because you're paying them money, but whatever. Make sure you send them an email, and that will take care of reminding them, hey, remember, you're supposed to be at my event and on this date, from this date to this date, and to remind them of all the things that they are supposed to be doing. A good thing to make sure that you do is to put all that in the contract, but it doesn't hurt to reiterate things. Or if there are any changes that you've made to the event, then make sure to put that in your email as well. The next thing that you need to do before you, within 2 weeks of your event, is go over your budget one more time and go over it again, and just make sure that if there are any changes that you've made from your estimated budget earlier in the process, that you record those and that you revise and update your budget as you go along. And 2 weeks out, you should have a pretty good idea of what things are going to cost. 1 week out, you need to have a powwow, or, in our terms, in event planning terms, we call it a pre-conference meeting. Doesn't matter if you're not having a conference, any type of event, it's a pre-con meeting where you bring in everybody that has anything to do with your event, and you all meet. Now you can do this in person, or right now you can do it over the phone or through Zoom or however, but everyone needs to be there, and it needs to be mandatory. And so going back to the email that you're sending your vendors, make sure to remind them of this meeting and make sure to tell them that, hey, this is mandatory because I will be going through everything about my event, and you need to be there so that you hear what everyone else hears at the same time. And if anyone has a question, you will hear my answer to that question. So everyone will hear the same thing at the same time. This is very important because we don't want anyone to not know what they're doing, or to not know that, hey, AV is moving in and setting up at the same time that my videographer is trying to set up his equipment. So how are you going to do that? What's going to be the dance that we're going to do to make sure that everyone gets to set up and break down at their appointed times, and we don't run over each other or trip over each other? Like, those are the types of things, the types of details that you will talk about in your pre-con meeting, and you will go through it. If it's just one day, then you go through it hour by hour, just the major points. If it's multiple days, then go through it day by day, and this is what will happen on this day, and this is how we're going to set up. We're going to break down, or we're going to whatever, day by day, hour by hour, task by task. And all of your vendors should be there, and your important staff should be there, and any managers or vendors or anybody that has to do with your event should be there. Mandatory. The next thing that you're going to do 1 week out, or at least 1 week out from your event, is go to your venue and walk the space. So, and you're walking the space um, with the attendee in mind right now. And you're going to pull up to the venue, go in, find the registration, find the general sessions, find the breakout rooms, walk and see where the food's going to be set up. And this is the point where you can make last minute adjustments to your event. And I would do this before you have your meeting with all of the vendors, before you have your pre-con meeting. Because in case there is a last minute change on, oh no, I don't want the registration area over here. I want the registration area over there because there's less traffic or it's easier for people to find if it's here rather than if it's here. So just those last minute changes that you may or may not want to make, but it's good to walk the space, just to so you'll have it in mind while you're talking to your vendors as well. The last thing that you want to do at least 1 week, or you can wait as long as you possibly can, but at least 1 week before the event, is you submit your food and beverage guarantees. If you don't know what a food and beverage guarantee is, or whether or not you're going to need to do this, then make sure to check out my other video. I'll put a link to it in the description below, and you can find out what the guarantees are, what the little tips and tricks are for your food and beverage guarantees, and so forth. But you want to make sure that you send your caterer or your hotel banquet manager your food and beverage guarantees before your event, and then you'll go through it and make sure that the guarantees are still good probably when you get there. But you need to give them your food and beverage guarantees at least a week before. Now we get to the day of your event. Yes. Now, I don't know about you, but I really can't sleep the day before because I'm so excited about my event. And the morning of your event, I would suggest that you walk through the event space, and with your BEO in hand, or if you don't have a BEO, with your own agenda and scheduling for your vendors in hand, and make sure that the AV company is all set up in your room. Make sure that the banquet manager or your caterer did set up your food, and the food that you wanted is on your buffet or whatever. Just make sure that everything that's supposed to be there is there. And if it's not, you're up early enough that you can make sure that they fix it. And also, I want to make sure that my staff is ready. So I have a staff meeting before your attendees get there. Of course, this is all after I've walked the space, made sure everything is together. Now I'm bringing my staff together, and we're going to have a meeting and just talk through what's going to happen today and who's going to do what, just to make sure that everyone knows what part they play, where they should be staged. If there are any questions or any last minute things that have come up, I make sure to communicate that to my staff, and so they are ready to go. And I'm also doing my sound checks. I'm doing my presentation checks. So I'm loading the presentations onto the computer or onto their system, and I'm running through presentations, making sure if I have videos embedded in the presentations that they work seamlessly. I'm checking the Wi-Fi to make sure that the Wi-Fi working, and the password, if there's a password, that the password works. All those things I am checking before the attendees get there, because what I don't want to happen is I'm going through all the programming of my event and the microphone is out. Oh my gosh. And now I have to, run around trying to find the replacement microphone. We've stopped all this good content that we're giving people, and it's a big disruption. So the best thing to do is check all that stuff out first. Also, if you're having a multi-day event, every morning, starting on the second day, you review the cost of the day before. You review the expenses of the day before. And you do that on the spot because it's in your head right now, it's in your mind. You remember pretty much what happened the day before, and you know that if there's any type of discrepancy on your expenses from the day before, you can rectify that right on the spot and right there. So when you get your final invoice later, most of those discrepancies have already been taken care of, and you'll know that this bill should be close to what is actually my cost for this event. And you want to do that every day because that saves you time in the end, and because you will remember better what happened the day before. So that is all of my tips for what to do when you're executing your event. If you have any other questions, or you would like some specific questions answered about your event, then write it in the comments and I will make a video about it, because if you have a question, I'm sure other people will have questions too. Don't forget to subscribe and like this video and turn your notifications on so that you can get new videos and the latest tips and tricks for how to market your business via events and how to have the best possible event you can. Thank you for watching, guys. I will talk to you later. Bye.